little bit of concern and worry, honestly, today. A little bit of agitation and also excitement because we're preparing for another retreat. So, yeah, that's what's alive in me. And Dre, what about you today?
There's a need for effectiveness, consistency, order. Um, that that usually puts me at ease. Definitely in regards to tech and setup. And there's a feeling of excitement, and there's a need for challenge. I guess I guess willing to meet the challenge in regards to confrontation, in regards to challenging myself and others in relationships. Yeah, to get clear, to be on the same page. So there's a desire there and a willingness. And I also hear, um, in regards to our dynamic and at home, um, there's a call to step up. Yeah. So I'm going to do that.
I heard you're going to stew that. You're going to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Changing dynamics with family, friends, how to stay integrity, how to make agreements that feel aligned within myself and also the other person, how to renegotiate them as time changes and things change. Um, it's a huge thing. We're doing it all the time. Yeah. What's what comes up for you when you talk about agreements or broken agreements or trust and integrity?
I mean, there's a lot there. There's one thing is this aversion to conflict.
Mm.
With agreements, it requires confrontation. It requires clarity, because without clarity, then we have implicit agreements, and these are like
Mhm,
covert contracts where
mhm.
I would do certain things and just end up doing it. Like I just voluntold myself, and I become resentful. For example, I just happen to be the person taking out the garbage, for example, or washing dishes. Like it's not explicitly stated, right? Or someone just ends up being the cook for the family. And whether they agree to it or not formally, they just ended up playing that role, right?
Right, and then if it's not explicitly stated, maybe people don't appreciate it as much, or they don't extend the verbal confirmation that it's appreciated and that this was agreed to. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Travis, great to see you. It's been a while.
Travis.
Thanks for commenting. We're speaking about agreements, making, keeping, and breaking. There's a lot of avenues we can go from here. Yeah, great to see your message. Don't see ya, so I was gonna say that, but that's not
Yeah.
true.
Curious what's been going on for you in the summer.
Yeah. So yeah, going back to like implicit agreements, I think of it as like nice guy behavior, like these
Mhm.
covert contracts that if I do this, I'm gonna get this, but I'm not being transparent about it. Right? I'm not being open about it. Maybe I'm not even consciously aware of my patterns that I do certain things. Let's say, for example, I'm taking care of the house, changing the light bulbs or taking out the trash or mowing the lawn. And there's a desire to be appreciated by it, right? But I'm not asking for it. And then what happens? I create this
Well,
story that I'm doing all this work and it's on me and that it gets taken for granted, right?
right. What about those I've heard a few people lately say that, "Oh, well, I shouldn't have to ask to have my needs, that people should just be able to figure it out," right? Like, really, I would say giving the responsibility for getting our needs met to somebody else, assuming that they can read our mind, assuming they know what we need, it can get us into so much trouble.
Totally.
And
I mean, there's something
fear.
very special about someone knowing or being deeply attuned to me, you know? Sometimes I cannot see myself or even know what my needs are. So there's a sense of like deep connection when someone can anticipate my needs. And I think when we can cultivate this type of presence and curiosity with each other to become curious about what's happening in our inner reality, you know, it creates this like sense of safety and deepening and vulnerability that we so all yearn for, I believe. But yeah, going back to like what you were saying, for me to just offload that to other people and demand or um, put it on them to guess what they need is it's not a recipe for a great relationship, right?
No.
Clarity is kindness. So how can I have both where I do my own work and gain clearer what I need and communicate that clearly so we're getting rid of this guesswork. And at the same time, when someone communicates to me what they need, I'm gathering data, right? And I'm becoming an expert of them so I can also anticipate what they need, right? I mean, it's so right? When you anticipate my need for giving me a head massage or offering a smoothie or cooking my favorite meal, like I'm so like thrilled, right? I feel so loved and supported. It goes a long way when we can do those little things and look after each other, but not be dependent on it, so to speak,
Mhm. That's
right?
key there, right? Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people's needs change depending on, what's going on in the day, if someone got in an act different things aren't static. And so checking in with, how are you feeling? What's alive in you? What do you need? They should just be staple things that we are asked instead of people ask, "Well, what do you do?" or "What are you doing? What you up to?" Um, we're more curious about the external behaviors than we are on what's going on inside someone. Um, and I think this is shifting because I always think of that quote: "People don't ever remember what you do, but they do remember how they make you feel."
Mhm.
And so, um, becoming more in tune with ourselves and others so that we can be aware of how we're feeling and how others are feeling. I think that plays a big part in true integrity. I know I've had a few people, like, okay, well, this is what I said and this is what I do. For example, a client with the amount of money they're offering for our programs, and they're like, well, I have to pay that because I said I had to pay that. And they just got in an accident. Their car is wrecked. They can't even pay for their mortgage, but they said they were going to pay it. So they're going to pay it and put themselves into more jeopardy. It's like, no, 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 no. When things change, you can renegotiate. It doesn't mean you're out of integrity. It means that things have changed. And what you're doing is staying integrity to yourself and what you're feeling and what's happening in life versus some, of course, speaking to what's changed is so key, and explaining it to others, um, so that we can stay in right relationship. Anyways, that's where my mind took me on that. Where do you go
Mm.
from that?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, that unpacks the conversation around integrity, right? And yeah, Travis, I do get head massages. We have a massage table set up in our room. We have enough space where we have that laid out. Like I'm a lover of massages, and a great exercise would be to point out and name the things that I appreciate that my partner does for me. So much we're so focused on what isn't been being done right, what's wrong, versus what do we want more of, or what's already been done, right? Keeping track of those things. So one thing I really love is like when you have a fresh bowl of dandy tea made, right? And
Mm.
then, beautiful. Or you come up and you bring a glass of dandy tea to me. Like it's like, thank you so much. Going back to integrity, yeah, I've been in this old school thought, my word is my bond, right? And there's this attachment of my self image that I got to fall through because I said I would. And I get it, right? Because that creates trust. If I follow through an agreement, It creates trust and creates safety and predictability because that's what I said it would do. Though, like you said, needs change, right? Myself, what I need in this moment changes from moment by moment. And so I now see integrity as being attuned to my present moment. What's
Mhm.
alive for me
Mm.
right here, right now? Because there's times where I made an agreement and it no longer serves me. And now I'm tired, right? I'm exhausted by following through in these agreements because I've agreed to other 10 other agreements. So I'm just adding on and stacking and not removing agreements. Just imagine, I'll give it like a nice example of joining these WhatsApp or Facebook groups, right?
Yeah.
And I'm afraid to leave it because I'm afraid to offend people, for example. So I just keep it there. But then my feed is just full of messages, right? So I become inundated and overwhelmed by it. So there comes a time to reevaluate, do I need to keep this agreement or not? And look at either changing the agreement or even breaking the agreement to tend to my well being, right? Here's a key
Which
piece
should
though.
be the first agreement is our well-being, right?
Yeah, right. It takes two, but we got to start with our own well being first. And also, when I'm breaking agreement, that other person that's involved may not consent to that. They may not
No,
agree.
no,
And for me to care for my well-being, I need to break it irregardless of their consent while caring for the impact. That's
mhm.
key right there, right? I'm not just going to like, nope, I'm done. I don't have any time anymore. I know I said I would do this and I won't do it again, right? Now, without clarifying why I'm breaking it or why I'm changing it, it leaves the other person to create stories of what happened. They could create stories that you broke your word and I don't trust you. Or did I do something wrong? You don't like me. So, how do we clarify? Is we clarify the reasoning behind breaking or changing the agreement through our needs. What's happening in our present day where certain needs are, I guess, in a way, more highlighted than the other. So that requires some conscious awareness and slowing down and tuning in into what's going on for me versus just, okay, let's just do it, break it. Let's pause for a second and get more clarity on why that is.
Yeah. There's something so important about sacred pauses, not having to keep verbalizing and being able to pause and really do a temperature check, an oil check. We do it on our cars, or we should. Um, and normalizing that this pausing and allowing people to feel into what's true for them so that we know we're in right relationship, in the moment, in presence as we go along. What are the stories that we have? Um, one of the, I would say, implicit or not implicit, but well, I guess implied agreements that we have in our culture is, oh, well, on special occasions, Valentine's Day, birthdays, anniversaries, we're supposed to give cards. There's this, or flowers or whatever else. And so there's this societal pressure or um, obligation, duty that is alive. And that's one I have a real difficulty with. Um, the Gregorian calendar, where we've got specific dates for specific things. And I, for myself, feel more inclined to offer those things when I'm freely giving them. I have a story in my head that when people are giving it on a specific date at a specific time, what everybody else does, that it's actually not as authentic as people who come when there's no specific date. When they're motivated, they're inspired. Oh, I just thought of this person. Oh, this thing reminds me of this person, and I'm going to give this to them because I know they're important in my life. And so I really, really think appreciation. Everyone talks about gratitude in life when they have gratitude journals, but also very important to have people. Like, what person did I touch base with today and let them know I'm grateful for them and the things that they brought into my life? How can I let people know what they're appreciated for? What what essence that their life and their being alive brings to me? Um, and that's something that I strive to do for people, with people. And when I do, um, it fills me with a sense of life. If I go to buy a card or someone on a specific date, and I'm not saying everybody feels this way, but I do. I'm like, oh, I have to get this. Oh, I'm stressed. I've seen people at Christmas time running around. At the time I still really participated in Christmas, I remember being at one of the craft stores, and I was in line, and this lady said, I'm in a hurry. Get out of my way to buy her gift in this long lineup. And I was like, wow, sometimes the hurriedness of life takes away the true essence and reason of why we're appreciating someone. Are we doing it because we should? Because that's what's been told that we should be doing? Or are we doing it out of genuine care and appreciation? To me, that's a
Mm.
difference as well.
Yeah, I hear you're speaking to like agreements I make with myself, not only with others, but what are the implicit agreements I make with myself that are influenced by systems, cultural, societal expectations of certain holidays, or even heteronormative relationships that a woman is the one that cooks and cleans, for example, automatically, right? And the man is the one that cuts the grass and does things around the house, the labor intensive things. Just do it just because it's a social norm, cultural norm, Christmas time, right? And so that requires like a pause of like, okay, what needs are being met here by me doing this, and how am I contributing to the whole, the well being? Yeah. And Travis says, ask and you shall receive when you have a healthy container. Yeah.
Yeah, healthy containers necessary.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I just
What
want
is
to pause here for a moment. I'm just
mm,
checking, how is my connection? Am I lagging? Okay. Okay. I think it's just on my end there. So sometimes without having that verbal feedback immediately kind of throws me off, but I'll make do.
mhm. So healthy containers. Mm, that's a tricky one because I think not many of us have been brought up in a healthy container. I know, and there's different variations of that. I think our culture is like, okay, abuse is like hitting people, or they talk about mental and emotional stuff, but I think there's a whole other layer in our culture that we're not looking at yet.
Oh,
Mhm.
thanks, Travis, for confirming that there's no leg on your end. Great. Or unless you mean there needs to be a
Yeah,
great
great
connection.
connection in society, yeah, in relationship.
Yeah.
Double meaning there.
Yeah. Though you can confirm, Travis, because you're replying back. How is the connection? If there's any lag that you're experiencing, let us know. Having that feedback is very supportive.
Mhm.
Yeah. So speaking of making agreements, I have something that I want to make an agreement with you, and this
Mm,
is fresh and new. And
mm,
so I'm feeling a bit vulnerable because this is live in a live real time conversation versus a private conversation. Thank you, Travis, for confirming no lag. Amazing. So Um, I have an agreement I want to make with you,
oh,
and
interesting, yes. Mhm, mhm.
would you be open to exploring it on this call?
Yeah, it depends what it is, I think.
Yeah,
Mhm,
yeah, it
mhm,
depends, eh?
mhm,
Hmm.
totally.
So
Yeah.
consent is so important because I want to make sure, like, I'm not just dumping this on the summer here because she doesn't know what I'm about to say. Um, hmm.
Yeah,
So how do we? How? What would be supportive for you?
well,
What would
tell me
you?
what you want. What is it that you want to, yeah.
Yeah, I like to. I would love to carve out a specific time where we can explore sensuality and
Mhm,
sexuality expression in a
mhm.
container,
In a container.
meaning like there's boundaries with it because
Mhm,
this allows me to know, like, it creates safety for me. Someone gave me this analogy of like they did a study regarding school playgrounds, right?
Mhm.
And when there were no fences around the playground, the kids typically would huddle in the middle, in the center of the playground, of the park,
Hmm.
okay, to be safe. But then when there's fences around, the kids felt safe enough to explore the area up to where the fences were.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
it kinda gave a sense of safety as there's confinement and boundaries. And so for me, I'm yearning and desiring to explore my range of sensuality and sexual expression, and having a container in terms of like a time block or in terms of like what we will be exploring, like sensual massage or um, mirroring practices or even like giving each other stretches, right?
mm,
And supporting each other in deep stretches. Um, this will so nourish my connection to my body with you energetically and allow me to explore and love a space where we can reflect and share how that experience was.
mm, mhm,
Yeah. And I guess this is my way, like how I operate is I'll love to have a lab, a laboratory, like where I get to come in and experience and experiment and then reflect on it. It's just how my mind works and enjoys. And of course, there's also a need for spontaneity and novelty. It's of in the moment. And I love for that to happen without that container as well. It's just that this container will support me in building those muscles and awarenesses so that I can then take it out of the dojo and just do it in daily, day to day life.
what is dojo?
Dojo to me is like a kung fu place. Is a place where they teach martial arts. Like if you were to go and learn kung fu, karate, or jujitsu, you would call that a dojo. It's a place where people train a particular martial arts or even any types of arts. Right? It's like when I step into that space, as if like I'm anchored. I shift into this mode of discipline and exploration. Yeah.
Mhm,
So
okay,
it's kind of a state shift that supports me to get into that space because
right,
this is what's it about. Yeah.
right, okay. Can I reflect back what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what I heard is you have this desire to further explore your own sensuality, sexual expression within a container, a fence that makes you feel a little safer. So, like the children huddled in the school, they have a little bit of place up to a point that feels safe. And I heard time was part of the container, the amount of time spent. Um, One thing that you said really was like, "Ooh," to me was actually deep stretches. Like
Yeah.
I saw maybe Thai massage or like real deep stretches. To me, I was like, "Oh, wow, that sounds really good to me." Um, Part of me worries that, it becomes a like, and you also said kind of like a laboratory, and I'm like, "Ooh." Um, Part of me, if we do step by step stuff, it's a pre-manufactured laboratory versus the what's alive in me and what's moving through me, which then feels not sensual, um, because energy just
Mm,
it moves as it moves, and, if I'm
mm,
premeditating something, then, it's like getting stuck in your head in the middle of whatever you're doing. Everybody know there's a flow state to everything. Specifically, when we're dancing, when we're, exploring sexual expression, it's that movement in the moment. And I remember you saying specifically, when I'm in my head, I'm dead, right? Um, so that was a little, ooh, that part of it makes me wary of
Mm.
the fence and the container at the same time knowing, yes, of course, it's important. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. May I reflect back what you said there, that piece?
Well, is there parts of what I just said missing for you, or is there like, did I get the full grasp of what you were saying in this moment?
Mm. Yeah, I think you got the full grasp of what I'm asking for, and I also hear a piece that you're concerned and worried of,
Mm, mhm,
and I want to make sure I follow that and really feel into that because I so desire for that as well. The spontaneity, the what's alive in this container. Um, yeah, yeah. So curious if you're open to me reflecting, and I'd love to share a piece about that of how cool. So I hear you're wary that it becomes prescripted, becomes mechanical, and it becomes a performance. It's
mm,
not really embodied, but something to do, something to get right, or something to check off, rather than being attuned to what's alive, to the current needs in the present moment. That sensuality is being flow, like how I would dance at a static dance where it's kind of non-linear movement. It's whatever is called in that moment. Is that is that accurate?
yeah, yep, for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more
Yeah.
to that. I think there's so many different practices and different things to add to everything, so, yeah, I'd be curious because 'cause we've been to a one tantra event and different things like that, but things that really mm, I think this moves into such a big opening of different pieces for different people and knowing what that is for us,
Mhm.
um, yeah,
Yeah.
specifically.
May I share like my needs around this as well?
Uh, well, we're having that conversation, so I'm kinda confused that you're asking again. So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, like I want to unpack like the needs behind like what you're sharing in terms of weariness is the spontaneity, right? The intuitive sense, the felt sense, and I also desire that too.
Mhm,
Because I'm working on moving away from being right or doing things correctly or making it a performance. Because that's been my struggle. Is I get into my head and then it's like, oh, am I doing this right? Right.
mhm,
And I'm kind of really disconnected from my felt sense. So um and so I want to hold that. I want to be with that. And at the same time I desire structure
mhm,
and clarity. Like my mind is there, is always with me. And what gives my mind ease is having a sort of like instruction to play with. Because my mind, I'm noticing when it doesn't have that clarity, it shuts everything off. I
mm,
disassociate, I check out, especially in the realm of sensuality and sexuality, because
mhm,
there's blockages there.
mhm,
And so I realize my mind wants safety. And in order for it to get safety, it needs information. It needs to know the why.
mhm,
And so I like to play with both, where and I'm kind of going into the strategy of things of like perhaps it's time blocked, but then whatever is in the container, whatever comes up is spontaneous. There's really no plan, so to speak, of what we're gonna do or how we're gonna do it. Though I like the idea of like, hey, may I offer this suggestion? Perhaps the partner stretching. Check in. Does that feel alive? And if we were to do it, then we go about doing it and see what happens. So for me, it's kind of like this sacred container allows my mind to feel safe to explore. And the mind wants to debrief in a way or reflect I'm not sure anybody resonates with this. So it's like in a way of like making sense of like why this is important, right?
Mhm.
How is it for me to be attuned so that my mind can relax and be on its side and it can be more my intuitive sense? Yeah.
Mhm.
So I noticed I said a few things there and just wanted to check back with you to see how that
Yeah,
landed.
there's a few things, and at the same time, I'm mindful of I don't know if all the chats on all of our Facebook groups and YouTube are there, 'cause sometimes we miss people, so if we're missing that, I apologize. And wanting to check a few different places, but, yeah, what I'm hearing is structure, and actually, what comes alive for me is, "Oh, well, gee, I wonder there must be lots of different things," stretching, Thai massage, um, different tantric principle, like, sort of like a smorgasbord or a buffet of things, like, "Oh, like, within the structure, let's try these things out." And that gets me kinda, "Okay, yeah, that would be really, uh I would love that." Just like a massage therapist, well, they do traditional, so then there's, Lomi and, myofascial release and all these different types of things to get more familiar with, well, me, my body slowing down in relationship to you. Um, yeah, and
Mm,
I mean, on top of that, I guess too, part of that for me would be I know we've taken a few dance lessons and things like that. I would love to partake in, um, we did the basics of Zouk, but more dance as well, some of the, uh, sensual forms of dancing. Yeah.
mhm,
So then we go to dance temple and things like that, but also, um, the Latin American types of dance. I've never done a lot of that, and
mhm.
we haven't, and that definitely is something that I would like to attempt to get better
Mm,
at.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely heard. I have my own like energetic blockages around that too. It's more of like a performance piece,
Mhm.
and that could be another conversation, just acknowledging that I do compare myself and judge myself for making mistakes and get into my head. And that's just part of the process. I find partner dancing to be very like edge work for me, for sure, 100%. It's
Mm.
such a self-help personal development journey and stepping into and relaxing into partner dancing. So that's an area of edge. I hear you reflecting back that like my need for structure and that there's a desire to treat it as like a smorgasbord of many different things that we can play with. And there's a piece I want to add to this. What Travis says is, why do we feel so unsafe? I have a history of doing implicit agreements, a history of covert
Mhm.
contracts. I have a
Mhm.
history of not being transparent with my motives. And so this practice of asking for what I need and what I want in terms of explicit agreement and a structured container to practice this makes me feel safe and allows others to meet me where I'm at of like, why does Dre want to do this? What does he want to practice? What needs are going to be met through this? So just like me learning music theory, right? Or dance theory, and I'd be so regimented and like on point. Then I release the training wheels and then I play music and I dance like as if I was a child again, but I had the fundamentals and the foundations already in place. That becomes a masterpiece, right? And so I realize how I learn is when I have a container where I can start practicing this with you. It creates a sense of safety and connection with you where I can start bringing that out spontaneously throughout the day. That's my desire, right?
Mhm.
Because there's a sense of like trepidation because I haven't explored it yet. Just like if I didn't or become in touch with the emotion of grief, for example, then I'm afraid that grief's gonna take me over. I'm gonna be engulfed by it. There's an endless pit to grief, so I'm afraid. For me to not be afraid is to experience it, to know that I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be okay. I'm still gonna be alive. So in this container, this allows me to practice certain things that I normally wouldn't practice. So I get the reps in, I get the familiarity in. So then I'm like, okay, I feel more confident, I feel more certain, right? And then I can then bring it out because I have a body of work, right? Have already put some reps in. Yeah, if that makes sense.
I think it does. And I'd be curious about your reflection on this because, um, for example, I've taught painting, which is a very creative, fluid process until you start copying other people's work. And some people, you've got a body of work, it goes to a gallery, whatever it is. Um, and I think part of what I'm hearing there is some fear of somehow that creativity or sensuality could go boundless, and then maybe you'll be judged or you're judging yourself. Um, and that there's because pre-social anything, I think there's a natural nervous system, emotional, mental, sexual exploration that is natural, I guess. And so, if something is natural, how is it that we've become afraid of what's natural and needs limits? And so that's part of what's coming up for me is, um, ooh, I hear a bit of fear. Um, and then it elicits a sense of, well, fear back, I guess, through that. Mhm.
Mm. Yeah, you know, there is fear. That's
Mhm.
why there's boundaries. There's boundaries are a way of creating safety. And it's about, for me, accepting where someone is
Mhm.
because they've been programmed. I've been programmed to, growing up, play was not accepted. Play was
Mhm.
bad. I was told to study, be a good boy, to not have my own feelings, to my own thoughts. So my mind has been over indexed.
Mhm.
And so my mind has a grip. My mind has a story to not trust the creative, intuitive potential, the art of things. It needs evidence, it needs time.
Mhm.
And so having a container, even in knowing that, yeah, if things are in the moment, like let it be, why put limits to it? Well, it's because the mind is involved.
Mhm.
Okay. The mind has been over indexed. And so this is the parameters that the mind is asking for to then start creating trust in the intuitive and sensual space.
Mhm.
It's a titration process of dipping my toe in the water,
Mhm.
dipping it out,
Mhm.
dipping it back in,
Mhm.
dipping it out. It's exposure therapy.
Yeah.
So you and I, we operate differently, right?
Mhm.
My
Mhm.
my judgment of you is you're tuned and tapped in. This is your normal operating being. Anything that there's limits to essentially makes you sick. It contorts your body. I see maybe I was not correct there.
No, I'm just searching in my own field here. Yeah, no.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a desire, there's a yearning for you to meet me in my operating system of how I
Mhm.
operate,
Mhm.
to be met in it, to be held and feel safe that, okay, I know where I want to go, but I can't get there. I need to take steps to
Mhm.
get there.
Mhm. Mhm.
And this is gold because I'm on the journey and path that other people are also on as well that can relate. this path of moving from the head into the body, the path of trusting the intuitive mind alongside the rational mind, not one or the other. And this is the part of creating space, safety, and respect for both, for all of it to be welcomed. Yeah.
Mhm. I mean, what's alive in me right now is just appreciation because I hear where it is that you want to go, and I also have this sense there's a gap. I know I want to get here, but I'm here. And so how do I take the steps to get there? Um and so yeah. Is there some concrete things that you would like me to do? Like research just some things that I'd like to play with, like Thai massage, or there must be quite a few different things I imagine that
I mean, absolutely, that'll be supportive. Yeah, because I'll be coming in with my tool belt as well of like ideas and things, and not being attached to it all to for us to play with. So yeah, that would be supportive. Yeah, I think the big supportive piece is like, I guess, knowing my my longing for a structured space, and that meanings certain particular needs for me, like exploration, safety, clarity, structure, uh, self-expression. Like there is just the stage that I'm at that having a playground or a dojo allows me to practice these certain elements in a safe space. Yeah. I think that's the biggest support for me. And I can hear your concerns around it of like, why not just do it? Like, why not just ask? Why not just in the day to day, just throw something out? Yeah. And then there's fear there, there's resistance there. And I know I can work with that fear and resistance in a contained space like that.
Mhm.
It's much more accessible
Yeah.
because in the moment, there's a freeze, but the
Mhm.
freeze is strong.
Mhm. Mhm.
And there isn't a container to explore that. Like there's a story that I have is like, I don't want to be too much.
Mm.
I don't want to talk about this right now. I make a lot of stories up because there isn't a ground for it to be explored. I'm
Mhm.
making up a story here. I could make up the ground by just in the moment asking for that ground to be created, but then having a container to drop into allows me to then work out those muscles, just like, you know, practicing on the mat. You know, I'm not going to go and do jujitsu or take a boxing competition without learning the basics and the foundations. I'm going to get my ass kicked. And then that's going to turn me off from
Yeah,
doing it entirely.
right. Makes sense. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I speak to the spaces of that I'm a part of, the work that I do is I not only practice in real life, but I have safe spaces where I practice it first. Just like if I learn nonviolent communication, I'm not going to go to a bar and then start asking what people are feeling and needing, right? Or go to my family and start sharing my grievances and my judgments about them, right? I got to start building that muscle in a safe container where other people are in that consciousness as well and are also practicing,
100.
so that I feel more confident. I feel more safe that I can take a little bits of those and start moving it into the workplace, moving into the family gatherings. Because going from 0 to 100 to a family gathering and asking for my needs to be met by my mom, who has a history of making it about her, that's just asking for disaster. And it's asking for re-traumatizing and reinforcing that story that she doesn't care and that I'm not worthy and that this work doesn't work.
Mhm.
Well, there's stair steps to this.
right. And I guess part of me is like, ooh, where my edges is like, ooh, I don't know how to create. Well, that's not entirely true either. I was going to say I don't know how to create structure. Um, but I'm teaching women's groups and gathering retreats, and we do have structure and fluidity within a structure. Um, but yeah, I guess for sensuality and sexuality, I think there's lots of different people practicing different ways of being. Tantra is moving more into spaces, which is more about bringing spirituality into it. And in the West, we talk more about the physical idea of it. For me, spirituality is a big part of my life. Um, and I would be curious. In fact, Stephen Rowland, kudos to you for your workshop at Vibes Music Festival. I really appreciated how you brought um, Tantra and the sensuality pieces into um, the spiritual piece about how do you engage with life itself. Um, that's what's really juicy for me, and maybe that container for me. Now that you're bringing this up and I'm remembering that. Um, hmm
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's so important to anchor ourselves into values, into the intention of the space. I definitely on the same vein of like sacredness over sacrilege, like bringing in like the divine, a sense of respect, reverence for the practice. Of course, noting the parts of me that are in fear, that are yearning and thirsting for something and just naming it. And how do I, create a safe space to explore that and not just suppress it?
hmm
Let's explore where this fantasy comes from.
hmm
Why is it that I have this particular desire?
hmm
What needs is it trying to meet versus squeezing and stuffing it away for fear of it being rejected or judged, or even allow myself to be engulfed by it,
hmm
treating it as an addiction of some type. You know, how do
Doesn't that
I treat it
contradict
with
the
care?
boundary?
Hmm?
Well, when you said engulfed, I'm like, ooh, doesn't that contradict um, the boundary or structure?
Hmm, contradict the boundary. Well, just I guess in that case, is like knowing when my expression is moved into the shadow realm of
Mm,
distortion.
mm,
Like if I were to talk about the lover, right? There's two sides of shadow polarity, which is one is the addicted lover,
mm,
where I'm craving for instant gratification.
mm,
I'm chasing the next high, right?
mm,
I'm attaching my worth to it. More sex, more drugs, more breakthrough high peak experiences, and on to the next woman, on to the next man, right? That's the addicted lover. The other side is the impotent lover that's been repressed, that has no life force, no vigor, right? It's disconnected from life,
mm,
disconnected from sensuality,
mhm,
stoic, robotic, machine like. So, how do I play with this range of motion without experiencing both? Not just in theory, but in practice, in felt sense that, oh, yeah, if I look back in my time, I was the addicted lover, 100%. Even I thought to myself, wait, I think I'm more of a magician like I over index on my mind, I think so. But actually, my default is my lover. My default is to play. If I didn't have any responsibility or to have to pay the bills, I would play. I would actually live a hedonistic lifestyle. My addicted lover would just take it over. But I was judged for playing growing up. Play was bad. Play was not conforming to what mama and daddy wanted you to be. So it suffocated it. It became the impotent lover. But I still had the addicted lover show up, pornography addiction, working for the weekend, chasing the next high,
Mhm.
right? The impotent will show up in like when the novelty wears off in a relationship, right? The routines and just the routines in terms of sexual practices. The same old, right? So naming it, reflecting on how that showed up in the past allows me to then, okay, I know when I'm moving into addicted lover. I know when I'm in the impotent. Sort of checking myself back in, right?
Right. Mm. Wow. Um, I mean, this our conversations are always live and unscripted. I have to say this
Yeah.
was uh we went in with integrity into this, which is great. It definitely brings up so like expands into realms that I'm like, oh well, there's a new area for me to move into towards. And I think it's speaking to something different than I've actually ever heard of before. Even in uh, different retreats we've been to, the little bit of the paradigm of Tantra and the sacredness that we know about, it's speaking to something different than I've really heard about before. And certainly that I haven't known about or explored in relationship. We talk about feelings and needs in a general day to day life and in our culture. I mean, sex is like, woo. And I think our culture
Right.
lends
It's like
to,
right in your face, but we're not
yeah,
allowed to talk about it.
no, right? Yeah. So then it lends it to the covert underneath shadow sides because of that. Um, and more of that addictive, well, it probably lends to the extreme of those 2 because you're not supposed to talk about it, so you're either so much in shame that you're, like, hiding away or you're overly, expressing it in an addictive way, and so, yeah, um, mm.
Yeah.
I'm at a loss to express, I think, the expansive terrain that this could actually create, especially as you've defined it as the impotent and those 2 extremes, um, because everything does have an extreme, whether we're talking about protective parts and IFS or saboteur parts, my controller, and everything has its life-giving essence and everything has another side. And how do we talk about that? Where you're right, we can steer the journey in a way that's um, between those 2 poles, and
Yeah.
I don't know if I have the answer to that in this moment, but it's definitely awakening my curiosity, and what I'm kinda seeing in my mind's eye is, all those couples that fall out of relationship, they became roommates, you said something about, "Oh, yeah, the same old, same old." Yeah, what are the ways that we can have novelty, have play, try new things, go on new holidays, like, um,
Yeah. For me, what's coming through for me, it just takes a conversation. Like the courage to bring up the topic and talk about it.
there's that, and then there's the follow through and the action piece.
Yeah. And that's where like a container, having a container, my mentors talks about calling it a temple night,
Mm,
right? Just like as
mhm,
people have roles, right? They've got kids to raise and they're dealing house things or in the role of provider or a father or mother or caretaking. And then we can
mm,
just get so inundated, engulfed by that that we forget to tend to each other
mhm,
or even tend to ourselves. And sometimes we do need to cultivate a space amongst our busy schedules to be like, hey, yeah, we got to hit pause on this and create time for ourselves here, because or else it's going to be filled by 100 other to do things
Yeah.
that's on the list.
Yeah.
So we prioritize it, we make space for it, and we set the intention in that space so that I take off the role of the father, right? Take off the role of the provider, the caretaker, the mother, and step into who we are in this being. We're in this special moment. And then afterwards, then gotta take on the responsibility again, right? Gotta be a father, gotta be a mother, do life things, adult things. But sometimes
Right.
we just forget.
Mm. I do There's a whole other thing. There's date night. Temple night has a whole other.
Mm, yeah. It's very juicy, magical, sensual. Yeah. There's a certain seductive quality to it. And also like a reverence too. Temple. Yeah. A dropping in of sorts. Not like a date night. Hey, going to movie and dinner. Your typical, right? Night out to watch a show. And I'm just watching a show, right? How many times have we gone to a dinner movie and we're eating and we're not even talking to each other? We're looking around, right? Talking about work or even maybe not work because we're in a vibe on work and we're like going to a movie and the intention is what? Not even on us. We're looking and watching a movie.
Yeah. I've yeah. I remember.
And again, there's needs being met by that, needs companionship and connection and presence. That's having someone there is meaningful.
Mhm.
You know.
Yes. Well, I have a feeling that this conversation is to be continued.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that is what goes by the wayside. People just fall into habits, right? It doesn't matter if you're by yourself or with a partner, you just fall into habits. And so, um, making habits of rejuvenation, making habits of reviving oneself or a relationship or sensuality is, being aware, even in families, right? Have family meetings, connection time, family
Mhm.
night, whatever that is, and not letting it fall by the wayside.
Yes.
Mhm. Just like, if you don't tend to a garden, weeds grow or it dries out or whatever it is. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's in service, right? Reminding ourselves, what is it in service to? The
Mhm.
reverence, the sacredness of it. Yeah.
Right.
Bringing the needs to the table.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's, I guess, brings it full circle to integrity to life itself rather than programming or sameness or boredom, but to life and what's life giving. Even
Yeah.
though sometimes it's uncomfortable.
For sure. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Well, there's a piece of staying in integrity does require change, right? At times.
It does, yeah.
And if it involves change with another, that creates tension and conflict, potentiality for
Mm,
conflict.
yeah. I mean, eh, tension. I know Viktor Frankl always talked about there's always a tension between who we are and who we're to become, and it's a necessary thing. It's motivation is in itself a degree of tension, and I wouldn't necessarily see because I see conflict as combative versus, I know we had a different word for it, but,
Yeah.
my
I mean,
my shackles go up when I hear the word conflict because 'cause I'm like, I guess we have conflict within ourselves. It's 2 opposing forces, but maybe dancing, maybe, being activated, being energized, but not necessarily. 'Cause
yeah.
conflict to me means fight and anyways,
Yeah.
language.
I just see the conflict naming the protector parts that do show up
Mhm.
in
Yeah,
that.
we do have that.
Yeah. They're always the first line of defense, and perhaps activation creates more of like, what's alive, including the protector parts to
Mm.
explore.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, Travis and others. If you do or added comments, we'll be sure to get back to you on those pieces. And until next time, we'll be here next Friday at 12 p.m.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.